Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. This week's show is a pretty serious one. We cover some really heavy topics. So if listening to a conversation around police brutality, wrongful deaths and murders, and what we as a society are trying to grapple with through these times, if that kind of conversation is disturbing or maybe not something you necessarily want to listen to right now, you can go ahead and skip this one. We totally understand. If you'd like to go ahead and listen in on our conversation, we'd absolutely love that and would love to get your feedback on your thoughts. So again, this is Brandon, Aaron, and myself trying to figure out and talk out our feelings and how we are trying to understand everything that's going on right now in the United States. We just witnessed, we were just downtown, so the restaurant opened up some, what they're calling fresco seating, so seating right on the road.
Yeah, otherwise known as outside seating.
Outside seating, I know. I was like, it's a fancy restaurant when they're like fresco seating. I was like,
no, they're just trying to make it sound good. It's
Yeah.
just that. It just means outside.
It is.
That's what.
But what they actually did is they took away some parking spaces right in front of their restaurant and put a little elevated deck area like to make it even with the sidewalk.
Oh,
and put some rails around it. It was really nice. And
that's mostly so Colin wouldn't trip and fall.
It's mostly
Gotcha.
And I saw that they posted, they're like, hey, our fresco seating is available starting today. And I was like, I want to go try the fresco seating. So we went and we were the first ones there on the patio. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like we get to be the first, one of the first, the first real guests to come out and see this. And then we started to see, well, when we were driving up to find a parking space, I noticed there were a ton of cars downtown. And I was like, that's crazy. It is 5 o'clock. Why are all these? And then my brain immediately flashed back to previously in the day. I had seen a Facebook post in one of the groups of the town that was like, hey, everybody, we're holding a riot and protest tonight downtown for the death of this lady who was wrongfully killed by a police officer. And earlier in the day, I had seen this and gone, should probably stay away from downtown. My brain completely forgot all about that. And then at 4 o'clock, I was like, ooh, let's go downtown. So we sat out on our fresco seating, listening to people march around the courthouse, picketing and screaming and yelling. And we left.
Well, I mean,
yes, we ate, and then we left. But
well, there you go.
So
right in the thick of it.
I know. I was like, what interesting people over there. And one of the things was as we were,
was it somebody there in town that happened? This happened, or was it like
no? Okay. As a young lady named Hannah Pfizer. She was shot and killed by a police deputy at a traffic stop after she ran a red light. She's a 25-year-old lady, and reports are saying that she claimed to have a gun and reached for something, and he shot her. Apparently, he shot her 5 times. And
dang,
there something other interesting about the city and the county that I live in. They tried having body cams and dash cams before, but the data management side, that's something that people don't consider a lot of, is you have to store those files somewhere and keep them secure. That was the part that was too much for the city. And they started having technical difficulties, so they canned the project. And now a lot of people are left with these questions of what happened, and nobody knows. When they searched the car, they did not find a gun. So yeah, unfortunately, it's really, really sad. It's really terrible. But now cops are getting their addresses put out there, and people are threatening their children, and some wonderful stuff happening in the area in response to this. So good times, people.
Yeah. Well, I would say that step is a bit too far. But I don't see anything wrong with demonstrating downtown to be mad about that.
Oh,
Because
no.
this is I mean, this is the you know, if your job is to serve and protect the people of the community, but that is gonna be your response, you're not serving or protecting anybody. You're definitely not protecting anybody by doing that. But in my opinion, this is my opinion. I do not speak for any of the other two on the show. This is just me. So I'll eat this one. That's fine. You guys can disavow me all you want. But I think that response is just so outside. And I understand that this is a profession where it's very high stress. Okay. But I think the thing that people are not talking about, and something that is really important to consider here, is why are you so afraid that is your response? Right? Because that's a fear response. That's not anything else. That is a fear response. What are you afraid of? What has made you so afraid that your first response to some sort of situation is pull gun shoot?
Right.
Right. What has conditioned you to be this afraid? And why are you not getting counseling? Why is there not enough? Why is nobody focusing on that aspect for these people that are trying to be out there protecting and serving us? Why are they not getting enough mental health help?
Right. Well, I mean, that's
with
really
their
true.
stuff?
It's true because they run the gamut. I mean, you had this incident happen, and just a few days beforehand, this is content warning, not fun stuff. Somebody, a gentleman, not even a gentleman, he's a monster, just south of where we live, abducted his girlfriend 3 times, each time
What?
continuing to, she would escape. Yeah, he would capture her. He would put her in his basement and like strung her up and was like mutilating her.
Good Lord.
And so you have the same people dealing with that man as that are pulling over a 25-year-old woman on the side of the road because she ran a red light. Something needs to change, right? Like that is not okay.
Yeah. And I think that's that's the thing that's getting lost in the discourse about the defund the police thing, right? A lot of that doesn't mean abolish police forces. Right? It doesn't mean get rid of all police officers.
Some people want that. We have to clearly state that some people
That's true.
Genuinely want that.
Well, I mean,
I'm looking at you, Chaz.
Well, I mean, look, in some areas of the country, is getting rid of a large portion of your police force maybe a good idea? Yeah. I think it's fair to say that might be true. You know, based on things that I've read about some of the police forces in certain areas, could some of those guys maybe just not be doing that job anymore? Yeah, I think that would be beneficial to the community at large. Not in areas like, as far as I'm aware, I'm very ignorant on these things in my local area, but like here, it's not really a thing that's happening, right? We have a very small police force. It's not super big. Uh, but, I think what most people are calling for, the majority of people that I have read, it's mostly about taking that money that's going to the police force, maybe not buying tanks and armored assault vehicles, and redistributing that money to where it's not the same people doing that, having more officers, and then dividing it up between, like, counselors and like family service people. So there's more of them to deal with certain calls and other things.
Right.
So that there's not just one small group or large group of people dealing with all that different variety of things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, it's right on the money is what I think of. Just there needs to be a lot more diversity of help for the communities,
and just more help.
because I mean, I know that phrase, thin blue line. I think that that's possibly a bit overplayed. I mean, yes, there are monsters out there that we
Yes,
all want to
but
be protected from. But
again, I think we get fed only the bad stuff, right? So we
oh yeah,
feel, I mean, part of this is propaganda based, and part of this is just what sells in the news, right? If no one's going to watch the news and they can't sell ad space if you don't get in sensationalized headlines. But I think the majority of criminals out there are not serial rapists and mass murderers. Now
right.
the counter argument to that, someone will say, well, that's because we have all the police.
It's
Like, no, I think it's because people generally aren't that awful, right? I think
that's it's that Simpsons skit where Lisa has the rock and she's like, "This rock protects me from tigers," and Homer goes, "Lisa, there are no tigers over here." And she holds up the rock and he goes, "Lisa, I'd like to buy that rock." Uh,
yeah, that's kind of what I think, right? The counter argument will be, some people will say, well, the reason we don't have crime is because we have all the police. Like,
right.
no, not really. That's not really how that works. It's not. A lot of studies about crime have shown that doesn't really do that, right? The fact that your police officers have assault weapons doesn't make you have less crime in the area, right? Things like poverty rates and housing availability. These are the
Mhm.
kind of things that increase crime rates, right? When people can't meet their basic needs of life, this is what drives crime, right? Most people that have an okay income and uh, are not super worried about being able to provide for themselves or their family, they're not sitting at home going, I'm bored. Let's go crime, right? Unless they're like a 14-year-old. This is,
Sure.
but that's like, I'm going to go spray paint a car. Not like, I'm going to go stab somebody. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think, I don't know. It's very, this is one of those things that unfortunately the complexity of the issue gets lost in the shouting discourses. But I
Oh
I
yeah.
do tend to believe that there are instances where police departments are definitely in the wrong, right? I
Uh,
think there is a culture in certain areas. Again, this is not a thing against all police officers, obviously not. That's just silly. But there are roots running deep in some police departments. Maybe more than I'm aware of, probably more than I'm aware of, let's be honest.
mhm.
Because I don't have interaction with law enforcement every day, right? I barely even see police officers in my day-to-day life. That's just, you know,
Mhm.
one of the things that I apparently need to be thankful for in my life, is that it's not a thing that I have to deal with. But I do definitely believe that there are instances in this country where there are bad police institutions, and something does need to be done about them, because we can't have police killing citizens. This is not that's no good. I don't care if they are criminals. The police's job is to not to kill citizens, right? That's not your job.
Right.
Your job is to apprehend and then have a trial.
Right. Yeah. They're not the judge, jury, and executor.
Yeah.
They're just bringing people in so they can have their day in court. And have that system. We have that system for a reason. And you started off talking about that sense of fear, and I do think that comes from a lot of the culture that you mentioned in many of the, not many, I'm going to say in some of the forces around the country, where the unions are so strong. I mean they're almost invincible in a lot of
Yeah.
cases.
And I think
Like
that's part of the issue behind the defund the police thing. Like, if you abolish your police department, the the union can't fight you because it doesn't exist anymore.
right.
Right? That's kind of the drastic step of just
Mhm.
like chop, and then you start a new police force.
Right. Well,
right?
I know they've been pointing to what it was at Cincinnati or something like that, where they fired every single one of their police officers,
I think
and
it's New
then
Jersey. There's
New
one
Jersey,
city in New Jersey.
and then hired them all back, and then started hiring people back.
You're back.
Had to
Yeah,
reapply for the job,
reapply. Yeah.
and it was a way of essentially busting the union, so that you could actually have, and I mean, here you go. You could actually have real world market forces applied to job performance and
Yeah.
and how things were conducted, as opposed to having this artificial limiter on what could or couldn't be done to people.
Yeah.
Um, I think
Because
that
I've yeah, I like a lot of other people have read that case study, and you see that they invested a lot in community involvement and
yeah,
community building and a lot more other things,
and
and not just
they actually like tripled investment in quote unquote police, but what the definition of police was on the other side was not what it was coming into it.
yeah. And I think a lot of that too gets convoluted in the definition of between crime and criminal, right? Like people conflate those two things like, oh, crime is bad. Yes, that's true. Are all criminals bad? Mm,
Mm.
you can make the argument that's no, right? Because a lot of crime, quote unquote, crime is like, you know, theft or something. It's not really like the worst thing ever. So these are things that, or drug possession. That's a whole other conversation we can have later. But that's a whole weird thing where, you know, they just like, oh, you do crime, you are a criminal, you must be the worst thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And this again, this is a multifaceted, layered thing with like, you know, police reform, prison reform, and how that's just like a mess. I'm not sure how you're supposed to become a better person when they lock you in a tiny cell and don't give you any food or water or light ever. I don't really know how that makes you not crime. I'm not really sure about that. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a whole broken thing that has to start somewhere. And there's a lot of people who aren't willing to even have a discourse. So that's why you have a lot of anger
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Because again, this is one of the things. This is not a new problem. This same thing has happened untold multitudes of times that you have no idea about. But I definitely see how there are definitely communities where you've had enough, right? I mean, good Lord, Rodney King was almost over 20
20.
years ago?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that same thing still happening in some places.
Right.
You got to be sick of that stuff. If you see that every single day, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine what that must be like. You know?
Oh yeah. No. It really must play into the just whole scale perceptions and way of thinking, and when and that part is hard to I'd say when you're not exposed to that, or you don't really think about that, you don't that doesn't come to your mind first and foremost when people talk about police reform, because you go, well, I don't, the police in my neighborhood don't need it. What do you mean? I've never seen it. But
Yeah. And I,
but
I
but
think
but
it's one of those things where that doesn't
or
mean it
people
doesn't exist.
or people start talking. So one of the things that gets frustrating for me is the immediate knee-jerk reaction. Again, both sides have terrible rhetoric and
That's
have
because this is again,
completely.
this is not we have the United States population has a terrible habit of turning things that are like humanitarian crises into political issues. Like
Mhm.
your politics has no room. People shouldn't be dying
Right, right. That's not a
no matter
political thing.
what.
Right, that's not a
Like
political.
citizens of the United States should not be being killed by law enforcement officers.
Right,
In my mind, that's not a political issue.
right.
that's
No, I.
that's
Yeah,
not a my
right,
side sees something. No.
right. And and part of that is, it immediately gets political when you start saying, okay, what do I do because of it, right? But that step when it's just having to just address and acknowledge that something exists, because what you're having to do is you have people who are basically arguing from experiences and encounters to people who have not had those experiences or those
Yeah.
encounters.
And I
And
can't.
so you have people who go, I experienced this horrific act against me. And I see it time and time again where people go, well, statistically, it's actually not that likely to have that kind of event happen. And you go, what? Like that's like I don't see how that's
Yeah,
helping
you
at
you
all.
have to you have to change your statistics. Not you can't just talk about. You
Well,
have to start talking about demographics and
and well,
all that
and
stuff.
and I think and I've read the statistics on from a lot of different people, and you can get to a point where you can go, okay, like I can see that all these studies show something, and yet that doesn't discount. If you say it's 99% likely that this will not happen, okay, great. What about that other 1%? Is it
Well, I
okay?
mean,
Is it okay that that 1% is still happening? Is it okay that those kind of events are still going on? Because that's happening to people. People are experiencing that. So we need to do something about that. And I feel like when you just start throwing out, when some of the rhetoric is just talking about statistics as far as crime on white on black or white on black or black on white, whatever, like you lose those personal stories, those personal experiences
yeah,
that you need to address, that humanitarian side of things.
yeah, because
If we
this event didn't happen to a number. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. I mean, we hear all the time of horrific events happening in other countries overseas where these bombs were dropped and 3 people were killed. We don't sit back and go, well, there was a 99.99999% chance that the whole country wasn't going to get wiped out. So I don't know why you're complaining. Like it was just 3 people.
Yes.
Like you don't hear that. You hear 3 people were murdered by a wayward bomb, and everybody loses their mind. 3 people, but for some reason we look the other way when we go. 3 innocent people were murdered by police because of these underlying things that we've already discussed. And
Yeah.
people go, well, that's just police. You go, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, are we talking about the same thing?
That shouldn't be it though. I mean, I think that because again, because of my privilege based on my skin color and where I live, right? My interactions with the police my whole entire life have been relatively benign, right? When I was a youth, when I was like 17, 18, 19, when I got pulled over, I would get kind of a gruff thing, but it's nowhere near like what other people in this country experience. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a cop search my car one time, just randomly. Like, I'm gonna search your car. I was like, what? Why? I'm driving to the gas station. What are you doing? Like, but it's nowhere near. I was never handcuffed. I was never, you know, detained at all. It was just hey, stand over there. I'm gonna look in your backseat. Fine, whatever. I don't care.
Right.
But that interaction is much different for other people. And yeah, like you said, I don't worry about it, but I have that, I guess privilege is the word, really, that I've never really had to worry about it too much
Mm-hmm.
because police aren't afraid of me because of a long and very complicated historical events that people just don't want to talk about because it's hard. And, you know, hard conversations are hard and people don't want to deal with it. And so I realized that, you know, it's different, but I still think that everybody should be entitled to my experiences as a police officer. Every single person in this country should be entitled to have the same experiences I have. Of hey, license registration, bye.
Slow down. Bye. Great.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I believe everybody should have that because it's, you know, do it. It's not
Right. Right.
It's just a right to be treated like a person. And I think it really upsets me that not everybody gets that.
Right.
And I don't know how to talk about it because these are things that I don't really have to address in my community. I don't live in
Mhm.
an area that has a large, you know, African American population. We have other issues because I live in a community with an extremely large Hispanic population. So we have some other things
Sure.
that we have to deal with. It's, slightly different, but a lot of it is similar in that there's still that malice
And and prejudices
and
against them and
prejudices.
assumptions that people bring to it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, I think you put that very nicely as far as, you know, with the last time you had a traffic stop where you were pulled over, would you like more people to experience that or fewer people to experience that? And that
Definitely
should
more.
that right. Well, I'm just saying like as a thought process for somebody who's
Yeah,
listening,
yeah, yeah.
going like that should tell you a lot about your life experiences just in that one alone, right? And I know there are people, like where we grew up, and even where I live now, like meth definitely more disproportionately affects the white community than it does the black community. And so the white people in my city right now, like they get pulled over an awful lot because that's 9 times out of 10 they're trafficking something if they're going to be doing it. So it's like there there are those instances, but it's not even asking, okay, well, don't stop patrolling black communities so that you don't arrest them, or stop patrolling white communities so you don't arrest them. It's everybody the same, right? All when you walk up to that car having the same assumptions for the outcome for this car to the next car to the next car to the next car, or this house to the next house to the next
Yeah.
house, like that's where that is.
Yeah. I agree. Because I mean, as a police officer, obviously you have to be cautious because you never know what's going to happen. But I don't think you can go. It's just so unhealthy to assume that everybody is out to get you all the time, right? That you're constantly under attack all the time. Like this mentality that they feed you in some of these departments is just not. How do you expect anybody to operate under that?
Hmm.
I don't like. What?
Now, I think to balance it out, we do have to be fair in saying that the people crying out, all cops are bad, ACAB, like that is a culture in some corners of the United States. So you have both. You have this weird
Oh
side where
no, no, no. I
right,
agree,
right, where you have
but
some people are going, every cop that I see is a terrible person, and then you have some cops who are going, every black person I see is a terrible person, and they're neighbors, right?
yes,
So you've got this unhealthy of like you have people who have been told every cop is well, I it's just one time away from being murdered by a cop. That changes how you directly interact with a cop, and then if you are interacting with a cop that has preconceived notions of how a black person is going to respond, you don't get good reactions from both those
yes.
people,
But
right?
again, that goes back to unfortunately that that oftentimes is true in the African American community, right? Like you are one move away
Oh yeah.
from getting assaulted by a police officer. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Like,
and you're right, and I'm not. I'm obviously not downplaying that because those are real feelings, and again, um, those are real events that have occurred and that they are cautious of. We have some friends down in Arlington, Texas, and they've been posting a lot of stuff, and they're a black family, and we dearly love them and love the business that they have going on. And the grandma has been posting a lot of things, and she was talking about how her son, who's also named as Brandon, he's
I like
32.
him already.
I know, he's 32, and she
A
posted a
great
picture.
guy.
She posted a picture of him with his nephew, and it was this beautifully written thing. And um, I was crying by the end of it because she was comparing and contrasting how her son, who's 32, has lived to how her grandson, who's now living. And like, Brandon is that her son was, he calls them one timers, and how it just takes one time to to not come back from a grocery store run because of a bad assumption on somebody else's part, and how that is differentially applied to the Black community. And so it was just, it really hit home again for those, that idea of life experiences that some people have lived very, very, very differently in this country than other people, and regardless of location or income or education or anything like that, they have lived a completely separate life. Because this family is very well to do, and is started multiple businesses and all this stuff. So you take that out of the equation, and you still have this disparity, these life experiences that I'll never have. Again, you talk about that word privilege, however that is manifested. We are all privileged to some extent. Everybody in the United States is privileged to some extent, as opposed to other places in the world, and yet you still have these disparities.
Yeah.
Aaron, you've been awfully quiet. Hi.
Yeah, as someone who actually works in the social working industry, would you do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
To this?
Crap. Sorry, I was eating ice cream. Sorry. So someone who actually works with law enforcement, sometimes on a daily basis, and for those listeners who don't know, if we have anyone new, I work in child welfare for Osage County, largest county in Oklahoma. Also one of the least populated in the whole state, which again, it's Oklahoma. So
I'm not saying a whole lot, but
yeah, so it's but it also has a very large population of Native Americans, particularly the Osage Nation. And so sometimes when I work on some investigations, or if law enforcement calls me and I hear the interaction between like the law enforcement and like the family per se, there's a lot of times where I had to stop and think, it's like, how did you become a police officer? And then when I talk to one of my best friends here in Oklahoma is actually a county sheriff, not for the county I work at, and I have a little, back the blue bracelet that he gives me that I wear every once in a while, because I know what he's been through. I know everything that he's gone through, and I know that he is himself a good example of law enforcement. But then I hear his stories and some of the people that he has to deal with in law enforcement wise, and it's like, well, we don't have the qualification for being a law enforcement officer is honestly not that much, and we're constantly needing people. And so they've kind of, I don't want to say lowered the bar or lowered the standards for people to become police officers, in a lot of cases, just so they can have the numbers, and training kind of gets thrown out the window. But a lot of the times when I deal with investigations and law enforcement calls me, and they're doing their stuff, and it's like, wow, you have no idea how to talk with people, and you're in law enforcement. And then you hear it's like, oh, how long have you been doing this? Like, oh, I've been doing law enforcement for 15 years. And I'm like, you're one of those law enforcement people. And so for someone who actually deals quite often, or quite more often than you may think, in law enforcement, or having to have interactions with them, there's especially where I'm at, they're not greatly funded. They're in large chunks of areas with the crazy of the crazies, aka what Colin was talking about with meth. It's very popular here in Oklahoma, weirdly.
I live in Berry County for a long time.
Yeah, so
number one meth producing capital of the United States.
Yeah, and so but that's in my particular area. Like, I myself don't deal with a lot of Native American, or with a lot of African American individuals. For that, you have to go down to Tulsa, particularly North Tulsa, which part of it is in Osage County, and it's a very different, demographic. When my goofy self shows up, and again, no one's ever happy when the state just shows up, and I show up with my little OSU polo, and I'm like, hello, I need to talk to you, and people still have that, that disconnection, and then sometimes I have to get law enforcement, and they're like, oh well, no, we'd rather much talk to you because we know you're not going to shoot us. I'm like, I beg your pardon, what? And then I had to bring myself back to the reality of like, oh, I'm in the situation dealing with this family, that this is a constant for them. And then on the other end, I deal with Native American families that, again, a state official, aka me.
Speaking of marginalized,
Yeah, Native,
oh dear.
a state official shows up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh, that's right." And
Like,
so
okay, that's fair.
usually, I'm like, "Yep, don't blame you. I will." And so that's usually we have to wait for the a Native American liaison or a tribal worker to come out and work with you. And but yeah, there's still that sometimes of like, oh, hey, yeah, we're not going to talk to you. I'm like, oh, no, fair enough. Yep, okay. But one thing that is kind of weird, talking about training. My training was like a few months, and we had a class on traumatic experiences, and it lasted for 2 hours. And they keep saying it's like, well, put yourself in their shoes, and kind of where I'm at. I'm like, how can I? And so, kind of taking that concept into law enforcement of trying to put themselves in people's shoes, the only thing you can do is, have extensive training and be involved in the community. And that's kind of makes myself kind of, our big town of Pahuska, the only large town in Osage County. But, people actually able to recognize me, and when I go to people's houses, like, oh, hey, I've seen you at the football game. Oh, yeah, come on in. And it makes things vastly different. And it makes things so much easier when I myself, a little random red haired kid, shows up at people's doors, and they're like, oh, hey, I saw you at the restaurant. Yeah, oh, yeah, you're fine. Come on in. And then just having that interaction is like, well, how much easier this would be if this is how it was like all the time, except for there's that stigma of like, oh, that's law enforcement. I'm not going to let them in. And it's just it baffles me with some of the people that I see out there talking with people, or doing certain things, and it's like, you're a police officer, you're who they send. Now, can I have someone else, because you don't need to be out here. And it's heartbreaking sometimes, but kind of where I'm at, that's all the resources that we have, unfortunately. And so it's until something changes, that's we have to do with what we got, and a lot of times that's not a lot at all.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you said earlier that I will confess my ignorance to. I did not know how much training it actually takes to become a police officer in some cases. Or like you said, how not much training that you will receive to become a police officer. Uh, I saw those signs at the protests about like how long it takes to become like a hairdresser versus how long it takes to become a police officer. Like the hours
Yeah.
involved. And I was like, that can't be true. And I looked it up and I was like, what? Hold on. This is a problem. Like, that boggled my mind. I had no idea that was the case.
And that happens a lot. And some people are talking, or calling for different police training, which in the end makes sense. But also with a lot of these lower funded areas, again, Washington County, or the Osage County, biggest county, not a lot of heavily funds. And so when people talk, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, police officers need, up to 2 years of training. A lot of these places can't afford that. weirdly enough, and those people are like, "Oh, the state can pay for that." I mean, it's
Not if they're
and
not state police officers.
yeah,
Oh, exactly.
it's not. And I wish there was more, but there's sometimes where I have more experience and more training in the few months that I did training than some of these police officers that I've had to deal with, and it's just like, are you kidding me? How are you even out here? And you know, and law enforcement calls me all the time, like, oh, hey, we got this situation and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, that, like, you don't. Why are you calling me? Like, that's,
Yeah.
and it's weird on my end. Not there hasn't been a lot of stuff like that or protests or anything going on in Bartlesville, but there's sure been a lot in Tulsa. But we haven't been really around that at all.
There was some in Springfield, I know.
Yeah, I saw some big pictures, some photos of some very large crowds on the Martin Luther King Bridge in downtown.
Yeah.
But yeah, you talk about training, and one of the things I learned through this was I had just always believed that part of the police officer training was de-escalation techniques.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a thing police officers would do because that makes sense in my brain, and I just assumed. No. The vast majority of departments around the country don't have any sort of that training in place, and some do, whether that's a 3-step or a 5-step or something. Now people are calling for an 8-step de-escalation process before you get to the use of deadly force.
Yeah.
But that part of me is like, I'm shocked. I am genuinely shocked by that's not in place, and I think that's long overdue.
I agree. I mean, when you have more SWAT training than you have de-escalation training, that's a problem.
Yes.
Right? Like that's
yeah.
That's not a healthy situation.
No. Because and that gets back to kind of what we were talking about as far as increasing the diversity of types of police officers and what that means. Yeah, SWAT teams are should still be around. Definitely 100% think that's going to be a case.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's every once in a while you do get that. But that's not your first step.
That's not
right?
the norm.
Step 1, SWAT van is not the norm, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And that, again, there's lots of other things that tie into this in other places, but like, it's just very odd. I had another thought and it escaped me when you said that.
Sorry.
And I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know if it helps or hinders anything, but it's also kind of a good thing Shelby and myself are leaving the state this weekend because our president is coming to coming to Tulsa.
Yeah.
This weekend. So
that's literally I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how
that hurts me.
You're not planning on driving through. You don't drive through there, right?
Nope.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Which is the BOK Center? Yeah, but that's downtown, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're actually not that far from downtown. Yeah.
Like an hour.
Oh, well, it's an hour from us, but no, we drive.
That's far.
We drive straight.
That's far.
It's down the road. We drive straight west or straight east. There we go.
I was gonna say, why are you going west? That's the wrong way.
It's been a long day.
Very circuitous route.
But we're driving straight east tomorrow, so we will be far and away from any big thing that's going on. But he's not coming until tomorrow, so it's fine. It'll both out.
That's still that timing.
Yeah,
I cannot believe. I mean, I can believe because,
but
I mean, why would you not, if you're that person, why would you not do something that completely insensitive and terrible?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't. Having a rally on the anniversary of one of the worst like, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's happening this weekend, and our governor is not really helping anything, but I mean, guess it's why it's
yeah. That's
yeah. So that's going on, and I guess that's another reason why I was like, yeah, we probably need to head
Run
home
away.
and see the family and
Yeah.
But that's other than that, that's what we're gonna be this weekend.
yeah, good call. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's what a slap in the face. My gosh. Wow. That's
puts a different thing, but to bring a different mood into the podcast.
Yeah. Save us.
To
Save us here. Come on.
to brag on my wonderful girlfriend, who I cherish dearly. She made some new friends this weekend. So she was out jogging around our apartment complex, and
did you bring some more birds home?
Yeah.
No,
How many birds
no,
do you
they're
have currently?
well, so they're
Are
all
they squirrels?
They're all too old now, so they're kind of like hovering over the doorway directly, so they can't all fit in the bird's nest. So
Did you buy them
Shelby?
hats?
No,
No. Okay. I
wish.
had to follow. It's on my notes. I had to follow up. Okay.
But she was out jogging and she made some friends. And there's this very old lady in a wheelchair with one leg, and she had like this. It's not a service dog. It's a little tiny like old. It's like a 15-year-old dog, and it's itty bitty, and it's like it's super cute. And so Shelby starts a conversation, and then gets invited into this elderly couple's home, and who the grandpa, I guess you would say, is very diabetic and is pretty much blind, and then this lady has one leg and is in a wheelchair bound, and all this stuff. They don't have any family members in town, and so
doesn't really do anything for the mood of the podcast.
They have been
what an upbeat story.
They have been blowing up Shelby's phone, and it's like they're really sweet, but they're like, hey, we need help. Like, we just ran and got some groceries for them not that long ago, but
do they want pictures of your birds?
And I don't know, I haven't asked them, but Shelby came back and she's like, oh, I met these really old people, and then like the next day, I think they called them, like I called her like 2 or 3 times, and then they called today when because we went to the pool and swam. Then they called us, and then they're like, they need some help with the groceries. And I was like, oh, this is not how exactly I picture us making friends, but
whatever.
That's been our evening tonight, at least, is making friends with the elderly couple a few rows down from us.
There you go, getting out and meeting the neighbors.
Yeah.
Right.
How sociable of you.
Right.
Good job.
But like I said, they're really sweet. But it's just like, you ran into who? Who are you talking to? And then I was like, oh, I'm sure we won't have to talk to him much. And then like, just today, just like, oh, who's calling? Oh, these people. Okay.
Called 47 times.
Yeah. But no, we'll be heading home this weekend. That'll be the first time Shelby gets to meet everybody, and then the first time I'll be back since, when was the last time I was home? Christmas? No, what was
Christmas?
Was it? No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we look at the timeline, it was Christmas, January, apocalypse.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, it's the last time you've been home.
No, so yeah, so I don't know if apocalypse is the
basically
word.
how it
but
went.
yeah.
No, it's yes, yes.
I got you. Yeah, so that'll be the wow. Gosh, yeah, I didn't realize that because all the other times, like, man, it'd be fun to come home. Dad'd be like, no. I'm like, oh, yep, you're right. Nope, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we got. And did anything else happen this weekend or this week? I mean, just a few investigations here and there. Yeah. Other than that, that's all been. And Bartle's away.
There we go.
I was trying to think of anything else I needed to rant about. If I saw some high school kids driving in new vehicles or not, I was like, oh no, I
Definitely.
didn't really see anybody.
Driving right in the middle of the road. Punks. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't done anything this week. I'm surviving summer school, barely.
Still good.
It's hot now. And it's hot. We started service project. I was just really bored of being inside all day long. So we are now, in addition to the other things that we're doing, also doing some landscape maintenance on the front of the school building.
Oh, that's nice.
We're just like raking leaves and pulling weeds and stuff because
Yeah, good.
we're doing it like the first hour of school because school starts at like 8. Yeah, 8. So it's not real hot yet. So we're going outside doing that a little bit, just kind of helping out, doing some stuff. Also, the maintenance director might have suggested that if we do a good enough job, he will let us go into look at the basement, a place that the kids did not know existed until this week. So we're gonna.
Excellent.
There's an
That's so cool.
old boiler room under the old gym.
Yes.
And it is like often flooded, right?
Oh no.
It often has some standing water in the bottom, and it's really weird and possibly haunted. It's fine. And then we're gonna go.
I love it.
Because we do have a school ghost, by the way. We talk about, and if you know that or not, we have a school ghost. So we're going to, we might get to go take a peek in the basement. Like earlier this week, we were doing something else. Oh, we helped the new librarian move some stuff. Right.
Oh.
So our old librarian retired. And actually, Aaron knows our new librarian, Michelle Hilburn, formerly Flamer, right?
Oh, really?
She is the new librarian at our school. And so she was moving stuff from her because she taught English before. So she taught English there. She actually taught English at Rogersville when Aaron was there. Collins.
I never had her though, but
yes, but he knows her. She tells me he would just like wander into her class and sit down sometimes. I don't know what he was doing.
Sounds exactly like Aaron.
I don't know why he was not in class. But he did
that might have happened.
So she knows Aaron. She asks about him every once in a while. And so she's there. So she was the new librarian. Anyway, she had to move a bunch of stuff. And jokingly, one day I was like, hey, if you need some help, I got a bunch of really bored 6th graders in here. And she emailed me later. It was like, hey, but for real though, I have some boxes. So we got some carts and boxes and we moved some stuff around for a little while. And while we were doing that, we had to go do something else. And one of the janitors, one of the new guys who's like super awesome, right? He started showing the kids around just some closets, like, oh, hey, have you ever seen it here? And he opened up this closet that's under the stairs. They didn't even know it was there. And they're like, what's in there? What's that? And he showed them one and he's like, have you seen the other one? And they're like, there's another one. So they were just getting these behind the scenes looks of all of these doors that are always closed and they have no idea what's in there. And so they were getting like this look and like we have a one, he was like, hey, come check this out. You know what that box is? And they're like, no, what's that box? He's like, that's the controls for the elevator. And they're like, what? That's so cool.
Mhm.
So we've been getting some behind the scenes look at school, taking a peek. And they're also ripping up the gym floor.
Oh, I saw that on the social media post.
Yeah.
With the I can't think of his name, the janitor.
Yeah. That was Glenn. He's the maintenance director.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Maintenance guy. Yeah,
Oh,
that was
man,
so
okay.
sweet.
So, did you see that one, Colin?
No, I didn't.
All right. So, they're tearing up the floor. This floor has been there since 1974.
Oh, cool.
Okay, that's how old this is. It had water got in somehow, and it started moving around so much so that you can't actually put the volleyball posts in anymore.
Oh.
Because it's shifted.
Oh, geez.
So they're tearing it out. They're they're fixing some of the concrete, and they're putting a new floor down. Well, the maintenance director, his name is Glenn, right? He played the first basketball game on the new floor when he was in high school there. So he played on the basketball team the first game on the new floor. And so right before they started sawing it up and taking it away, he went out and shot baskets on the basketball floor. So he is now the last person to play basketball on the floor.
Oh, that's really cool.
So there's this cool thing. So he asked Susan if he could do that. And she was like, yeah, we're doing that right now. So that's pretty cool. And they've sawn it up, and they have actually taken a bunch of the pieces out to the ag building, and they are selling them to people.
Huh.
They cut up these some of them are enormous, and they're just like, yep, come get, like, I don't remember. It's not very much. It's like $10, $20, something like that. Like, take a piece of the floor, come get it, go for it. So he's like, I got 5, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with them, but I got. So they got all this floor out there, but it's really funny. Yeah, that's the thing that's going on too. That's a big construction project that's happening in school. Been checking that out. We've been peeking in on that too as we go by. What's it look like in there now?
Yeah.
The gym looks really weird with no bleachers on that side and no floor.
But yeah.
So that's been happening. But that's kind of cool thing that they did there with him and stuff. But it was so yeah, we just been kind of roaming around the school in the mornings, doing stuff, helping out, practicing our citizenship because, sometimes we don't get along with each other very well. We can't play kickball successfully some days without arguing. So we need to practice working together and giving back because we got to get this under control. I'm not handling this very well. It's not the Olympics. Stop shouting about recess. There's only 6 of you anyway, some days. Why are you shouting? How do you play kickball with that many people? Why are you so upset? Stop it.
Just wouldn't understand the drive to succeed, man.
I definitely do not understand.
Kickball is life.
I definitely do not understand the drive to succeed at kickball. Even when I was in elementary school playing kickball, I was like, yep. Okay.
Yep.
I kicked the ball.
Most of the time I didn't even do that.
Whatever.
I just remember Coach Scott yelling at us and then attempt to play kickball, and then we'd have to remake the rules because we apparently weren't playing them right via Coach Scott. So
I don't remember playing a lot of we played kickball in like elementary school, but by the time I had Coach Scott, we were playing lots and lots of 2-base inside.
Yeah, with the big
a lot of 2-base.
The big pads. Yeah.
Yes. One of the only memories I have of 2-base, but the best memory I have was we were playing somewhere. I guess it must have been summer school because I didn't take PE in high school. We've talked about this. I don't got time for that. I'm lazy. Tim's brother Brent was mouthing off at me. He was there. He was mouthing me. You couldn't get me out. Blah, blah, blah. So we kicked the ball, not very hard. I grabbed it, and I was at one end of the gym and he was running to the other one, and I flung the ball like most of the way across the gym and hit him right in the shoulder blades. Bam.
Of course you did.
Of
Of course you did.
I was like, I'm not gonna get you. What was that? You get sit down.
Right.
That's the end of my competitive streak right there.
Oh,
It's like, you can't get me out. Oh yeah, watch this. Boom. Okay.
Bam.
I don't care if we won. I just got you out. That's all that's important.
Yeah. Great.
I'm not petty at all sometimes. It's fine.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Who was the elementary school PE teacher?
Now I had 3, so you got to be more specific than that.
Oh, well, because Coach Evans was
Yes.
a
One of
teacher,
them.
but I'm talking about like
The other lady, or was it?
Yes.
I had a guy named Randy too when I was in like
no.
2nd grade. But the lady
Yes.
Thompson,
Yeah.
yes,
Coach Thompson.
Coach Thompson.
So it was, I think it was Coach Thompson, but so recently, I don't know.
Long brown hair, tall,
Yeah.
skinny. Do you know what happened to her?
No.
Killed
What?
by a car while she was in Pittsburgh going to a baseball game.
What?
No.
Yeah, this was several years ago.
No, I had no idea.
So she was struck by, she was a pedestrian struck by a car. Sorry to bring down your game here, but I think
No, so I was what I was going to say was
Gee.
so the ESPN just released the new 30 for 30 about Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa. And I remember in gym class, Coach Thompson like would just like wheel out one of those TVs and we would watch like a baseball game because she was super into Mark McGuire.
as was literally everybody in Missouri.
Everybody, yeah,
Even
but, like,
people that had never watched baseball in their entire life. It's kind of like last year when the Chiefs won. All these people are like,
Yes.
I love the Chiefs. Like, you don't even watch football. Who are you? What are you talking about? It was like that.
I love
No,
the
but I
ball
just-
of foot.
Yes.
But I just remember that was kind of like my big step into baseball. But I was sitting there watching and I was following it on Twitter and I was like, Mark, I remember when that was like super serious. And I just remember our PE teacher just like not doing PE things. We would just watch baseball.
Yes.
But wow,
was
I
that?
had
What year was that home run thing? But yeah, she was killed. I'm pretty sure she was killed by a car. She was watching a baseball game in Pittsburgh. I think it's Pittsburgh. Yeah, she was going to a baseball game, or she was either going to or leaving a baseball game,
eh,
and she was killed by a car. So unfortunate. I do remember that.
wow.
But yeah. So yeah, sorry to bring your story down slightly.
No, it's fine.
I didn't know if
it
you knew
was-
that.
No, yeah, I had no idea. I definitely remember Coach Evans, but I could not remember
Yeah, Thompson.
Thompson. Ah.
Yeah. I can't remember her first name. I have some yearbooks somewhere in this house because Susan found them at Dad's house and was like, "Nope, these are coming home with us now." It's like, no, we don't need those. It's fine.
Put them away.
Yeah, hide them. I think she has them in the room. They're either in the bedroom or in the other closet. So I'll have to get that out and see if I can find it later. But yes,
Mine are scattered some around here.
Susan.
Shelby is extremely excited to look at the photo albums, and I was like, ha ha ha! Good thing. I was like, oh no, Mimi, and just the copious amounts of
bonus
pictures
photo
that she-
albums. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so I was like, drat, I'm foiled. So
Yeah, you sound so sad. Oh no, she gets to look at my adorable kid pictures. Look how sad you are.
well,
That's
her and everyone
look
else
at-
can all
You're like, oh
look-
no, look how cute I was. That's what-
Help me. Stop.
yeah. Oh,
No.
please don't look at this adorable picture of me. No, don't.
Or this one.
yeah.
Yeah, or this.
I would really hate it if you saw this one.
Yeah, I would really hate it if you saw how cute I was in this picture specifically. That's
Why are you holding a fishing pole in your school picture? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. First of all, that was a stick, you goober. You didn't have a
We
fishing
held
pole.
a fishing pole.
It was a stick you found out. Oh, I'm talking about the one with the little small one.
Oh no, I was talking about
The
like
one where you
my
wouldn't sit
school.
still unless you held that ball and that dumb stick. And mom's like,
Yeah.
fine, let him hold it. I don't care.
I don't remember that, but
I do. You wouldn't sit still. You were just like, you were like 4. I'm pretty sure. I don't think if you were old enough to be in school. So I don't know what
this
you're
was
doing
like
there.
this was like
But,
last
like,
year. But
It was yesterday. No, but you were sitting on. They put you on this little stool, and you just kept getting up and walking off. You'd be like, "All right," and you would just get up and walk off the stage. Like, fine, yeah. And the only way you would sit still is you were holding a yellow kickball and a stick that you're playing with, and you really wanted that ball. So the picture of Aaron is him sitting on this stool in like a nice sweater and like this weird background, and he's just holding a yellow kickball and a stick. Like, now I am happy.
No.
my lawyer myself remember this quite differently, but
I was there. I witnessed this whole thing. That's exactly what happened. Don't even.
but yeah, so we'll be spending some time and looking at those because he's like, I'm so excited. And I was like, crap. But she's.
I was gonna say I was questioning her excitement level because surely she listens. She's in the room right now while you're talking to us, and she's got to be going, "My gosh, your brothers are so dumb. Why would I?"
Well, she can't hear. She can't hear what you all are saying. She's just hearing me commenting, just sitting here quietly, and then being like, "I looked very cute." Yes, just like out of the blue. So
I can imagine her face. What?
She literally just looked at me and said, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah."
I see. I'm good at imagining.
Good imagination.
I just questioning her excitement level. I'm very curious about why she'd be so excited.
Oh no, she's very excited. I told her about Dad's puppies, and so.
Oh yes, have they eaten the whole entire house yet?
Oh,
They tore more rocks.
It's not puppies anymore.
Uh-oh.
What?
Nothing bad. But Becky has found a new home.
Which one was that?
The black one.
The black one?
Yep. She was quite the instigator and was really like basically turning Addie against him. and Dad was like, that's it. You're out of here. And so he found a family who had just lost a dog, who wanted a dog, and he had a dog, so they had a new dog.
Okay.
Oh.
So rehomed. Okay, that's better.
I said nothing bad happened.
I know, but at first you didn't. You were like, it's only one. I was like, oh God.
Oh,
well,
what happened?
Right. So it's just Addie now.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's slightly sad news. But I don't understand why a man would buy or procure for himself one of the most rambunctious breed of dogs of all time and then be confused when they acted rambunctiously.
I know.
When they were 6 months old.
I know.
It's a confusing step in there that I don't fully understand.
I know, and I know you know. We all know. Like it's I don't. So, yeah.
Oh well. Well, at least there was no tragic accident. I'd be worried there a little bit
right.
for a second. It's like, oh no.
Sorry, I was probably taking that a little bit more seriously just because I had to explain to the kids whenever we were there last of like, it's only one.
Oh,
and they were very confused. And Megan was like, did he actually rehome her, or is that like the farm in the sky kind of thing? I was like, no.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I was like, of course he rehomed her. She was like, okay. and then Megan.
Then you were like, "Wait, Dad, you actually did rehome
No,
her, right?"
Megan did. Megan asked.
Oh,
She
did
was like, yeah. She was like,
"Get him, Megan, get him."
He told her, and he was like, she just stared right at him and went, "Did you like actually rehome?" And he was like, "Of course I did." And we all were like, breathe.
Good.
Megan
okay.
will get you.
Yes, she will.
Like, don't do that.
So
You'd be double teamed by Megan and Susan, so you don't even want that. Get out.
Wow.
That'd be.
Oh gosh.
That'd be- Well, all right. One dog.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, well, you guys enjoy that. That will be fun.
We'll see. It's going to be hot, but you know, it's all right, I suppose.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Yes. Sorry, it's the one weekend that you actually have to dog sit again.
I
The
know,
first
it's okay.
time since the world has ended
Yes,
that
I
you
know.
actually.
It's okay. It's okay. We are. I need to send you guys the date that we are trying to go back up. It's many weeks away.
It's down.
But
okay.
down, up, across, whatever.
It's not across.
Kind of across for Aaron.
I mean, yes.
See,
It's across from me.
It's kind of
See?
up-ish, but
Up-ish.
Up.
Anyway,
just so you guys can get that on your calendar and we can try and do one of these other live in-person things.
oh
yeah.
Ready?
Da-na-na.
Ready? Well, yep. Let's have a good weekend.
Well, we'll give it a shot.
You as
See
well.
how it goes.
We'll be in touch.
All right.
Heck yeah.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Bye.
And listeners, we love you also.
Yes, we do. Very much.
Bye.
Bye.